I saw this video from DistroTube. It was a why do people cheat? I thought this was kind of interesting because I'm a bit of a cheater, not like aimbots and stuff. I think we've talked a little bit on the channel about that. But when it comes to cheating on online games, there's some things I don't have much time these days. And I think of my EverQuest days when I've loaded it up and I loved boxing. And a lot of that was you could definitely see that as cheating because I'd have to do an injection and then I'd write scripts so I could form a whole party by myself and those characters can pretty much play themselves. But I just did it so I would have like a healer, a tank, and then I would be like the DPS and I'd always have a full group and I could just go conquer whatever content I wanted and play the game and have a good time. Uh, and that was like old school EverQuest 1, and I even wrote a bunch of scripts for that. But that was a lot of fun. So I mean, but I wasn't really hurting anybody because it wasn't like contested spawns or new content. And what DistroTube was saying, I think he was playing like a FPS shooter, and he does a lot of open source gaming. A lot of it's like Quake 3 Arena clones, I think is what he prefers. And there's a bunch of them in the open source community. But with everything being open source, there's a lot of cheaters because people can write their own thing. They can see what the engine's using. You can develop a lot of aimbots. It's kind of uh, totally interesting to see that side of things on it. But I don't understand that aspect of it. Like jumping in an FPS game, a one-on-one match, that doesn't jive well with me. Maybe doing like a Zim tool or something like that if you were going to cheat. I don't know. Is it still a thing? Zimtech? This is something that you can do. This is more for console players if you want to cheat. You could also use it for PC as well. There's also something else I've used in the past. I think it was like ASWD. It's WD console controller program. Let's see. What was it? Remap. Read WSAD. The idea behind this, because I'm over 40, my reaction times are crap. So if I go jump in like a Call of Duty lobby in it's a level playing field, I'm going to be last place every time. So what you could use is a device like this, which is I think is like 100, $200. You could use a program like this or write your own script, whatever you want to do. And basically you remap a controller to the keyboard. So I'm a keyboard and mouse player, of course, and there is slight aim assist in Call of Duty titles. Almost any first person shooter has a controller aim assist these days. And what you can do is launch these programs and basically do a little cheating. It's not like huge cheating, but it helps us older crowd compete with the youngins out there that have spend 8 hours a day. At least this is what I like to tell myself, that they spend 8 hours a day playing the game, and I could just jump in and still get a couple kills. And I won't finish at the top, I mind you, but yeah, just a slight adjustment. I haven't been banned yet on that side of things. There are a lot of things where I get banned, it ends up being because I'm playing on Linux. I think it happened with Honkai Star Rail. That's embarrassing to say I played that. But I remember I was using a Flatpak launcher instead of their Chinese based, I think it's Hoyoverse, uses something, and there's a lot of telemetry and stuff built in, also an anti cheat. And that launcher on Linux bypasses all of it. So when they did a scan, they didn't detect me using anti cheat. I wasn't really cheating. I was just playing on Linux and the Steam Deck, and I got banned for that one. So that was a fun one. But the stuff I actually do cheat, like this, you don't actually get banned. I don't think anybody's ever been banned on Call of Duty for using these types of tools because they're almost impossible to detect. But I do feel bad for, that type of, like him as a gamer jumping in, and then all of a sudden you have to deal with aimbots and stuff. That's just not fun. And honestly, that's just not fun for anybody, even the cheaters. So that's kind of where I'm at on that side of things. Yeah, Honkai doesn't even have PvP. You can't even play with anybody. It doesn't even have co-op. Genshin had co-op, but Honkai doesn't, so you can't really do anything. So it's all single player, and it doesn't really matter. They just want to make sure that they're doing that. As a Call of Duty content creator, I cannot condone cheating. I hear you, man. I hear you. I hear you. I'm not telling anybody to cheat. I'm just saying what I've done in the past, and probably my worst transgressions happened, probably 15 years ago, and that was again EverQuest, and I was really into. It's an open source project actually. MacroQuest 2, was it .com? Yeah, this was something where you could download, and they had latest Git repository. You can compile this, and it would inject an executable directly into EverQuest. And I'm not a great programmer by any means, but I can kind of hack around when I want something done. And I remember, I think it was warping. I warped a bit back in those days, which I don't. That definitely not something I condone these days. There's there was one, probably the worst hack I've done on that side of things using MacroQuest on the front end, was removing delay from weapons. So most weapons, you'd have like 21 damage, 14 delay. Well, if you adjust the delay on the client side, why is that even available? But if you adjust that delay to like a 0.01, you're going to hit a lot more, and it's going to happen really fast on the server side. So you could use one character and clear out a raid target fairly quick, and using warp, you could warp in, spam the no delay in a fraction of a second, and before he could even attack, you could warp back out. So you could go ping pong back and forth for a minute or two and then wipe out an entire raid target. And then probably the other one for EverQuest, just to leave you with this tidbit, and then I won't talk about it anymore, is you could do a packet injection directly in and change one of the packets in the world. And at the time, the server wasn't patched, so you could crash entire zones. And this was back in the day before instancing or heavy instancing. So crashing zones mean you could repop the monsters that had just been killed. So you could kill a big dragon, and let's say his spawn time 7 days, you could crash that zone, and then it would respawn anywhere between like 12 and 24 hours. So that was kind of abused a bit back in the day as well. And then there was like Show EQ and some other ones for if you had multi monitors, being able to spam that. That was kind of fun. That was my cheating, but again, that's more EverQuest, and I hadn't really. These days I don't really play much games, and when I do play a game, it's definitely very very casual. So I'm not messing with anybody. I don't want to jump into a competitive lobby and then destroy people. That's just not going to happen. If you ever see me do that, I'm probably cheating. So I don't condone it by any means.